Hi. Hi. All right, I missed the countdown, so I don't know if it. Anyway, I might have just said hi twice and looked silly. Haha. Okay, so hi, Bob here, slash RompSteel. Hopefully, I finally figured out how to actually zoom in more properly. So hopefully, for you who view on phones, this looks better. Like this is bigger and easier to see. Um, okay, so game three, here it comes. Had a few people ask about that, so it's nice to know that this isn't just me talking to myself. There's at least a couple people who are enjoying these. Yeah, game three, me versus Franatleti in the round of 16. As a, North American, I have a hard time saying words like Franatleti and not like I feel like I'm probably saying it wrong. Okay, so I picked Shadow because if you watch my series against Lord Aragorn, I've said before I'd feel like Shadow, like the advantage is big enough. I'd still rather be Shadow even if the Free People's player has 2 tokens. So he starts with Scouts and Heroic Death, which is decent. I start with Cruel Weather and Fighting Urukai. You don't really want Cruel Weather turn 1, but I'd rather get it turn 1 than never get it. So I'm still quite happy to see it. So I do my usual 0 eyes and get a... Like, it's not a terrible start, but it's not a great one either. Like, at least their attacks, like I can move armies with that, but no musters hurts. That means I can't get Saruman this turn, and that's half the point of going 0 eyes, as you make it more likely that you can get Saruman so you can, get more dice and speed up your attack. But thankfully he only rolls 1 movement, so I'm pretty okay with this. So he moves once. I shuffle some armies. I pick up a card because obviously I'm not going to play Fighting Urukai or Cruel Weather, so I was playing a little bit too fast. I probably should have drawn a card first, but I think it doesn't really make a difference. Okay, so I carry on my shuffling. So I'm trying something a little different here, but we'll talk more about that later. So interestingly, he plays Grimbeorn there. I guess you want a card cycle as like since you have these 2 Palantirs here, and you have Gandalf the Grey. It's a little bit, I don't know. I still would want to keep that for the Scouts, kind of, but I don't know. Tough calls. Redrawing into Book of Mizarble, that's pretty fun. So I carry on with my army shuffling. So he doesn't have to freak out about Minas Tirith or Helm's Deep right now because obviously I can't get Sauron to war. But obviously this army isn't just here to do nothing, like it's going to do something sooner or later. So he musters Gondor down a step, which is reasonable anyway. And I move that army there. And he uses a ring to move a second time, which makes sense. And then I move that army to North Ithilien. It's only been like 4 days, but I already forgot some of these choices that I made. I guess I didn't want to move to Western Emmenwheel because like the nice part about going this way, credit to Pakia anyway for recently trying this against me and beating me with it. So now I've been experimenting with it a bit. So a fairly typical tactic that I've used a lot is sending 1 army from Barad-dûr straight up to Woodland Realm, and then this army combined usually with some orcs from Lorien, maybe North Dunland goes and gets Lorien. So you get both these strongholds preferably before the elves go to war. But one of the downsides is it's a little bit committed ahead of time. Like as soon as this army from Barad-dûr steps to Dagorlad, you're probably going that way. As soon as it takes a step this way, then you've officially said that you're going to either Lorien or do with that army. That's the only way that's an efficient route, unless you're just wasting dice to throw off your opponent. So like as soon as this army starts headed this way, usually the Free People's player knows that you're probably doing Woodland Realm and Lorien, and they can happily invest their musters on the elves because they'll probably at least get 1 elite, sometimes more. This way, if you send the Barad-dûr army out this way to Lorien, it's the same number of movements as going from Barad-dûr to Lorien as to Woodland Realm, except you have the option of, If you draw into Corsairs early or have enough musters to get the Southrons to war early, maybe you do Gondor first with this army instead. Or if they don't roll enough H's, maybe you do Rohan first instead. The downside, what you're paying for that flexibility for, is that this army doesn't get to join up with anything else on its way to the Dew line. So this army going to get Woodland Realm by itself is a bit weak. So if you have some bad luck, it might not work out. And then, you'll need backup a little sooner. Whereas going the other way, this army gets to, get a lot closer to 10 units with those units over there. So anyway, something I'm trying. Okay, so then I roll all musters to make up for the no musters I had last turn. So, but just okay. Turn 2, I don't mind seeing just musters. So he moves the Fellowship, of course. It's safe. I get Sauron down to war. He moves again, gets hit, draws an eye. Right, it's at 4 movement, and he loses Gandalf to the 1, which turns out to be a great call because you draw an eye. It's always a tough call. Whether you lose Gandalf to a 1 when you get a second draw, because if it's another eye or 0, then then you can't kill Gandalf like it was this time. Like mathematically, you are slightly likely to save corruption that way, but it's a question of whether you're willing to run that risk. And I think he, after a couple games with me, he knows that I am a military rusher, so I think that makes sense to kill Gandalf and try to go faster yourself. Okay, so I play Pits of Mordor. Yeah, okay, that's not insane. Clearly I'm planning on using one of these musters for Saruman. Oh, right. I guess I want to bolster this army before it heads up to Woodland Realm. And I guess I want to use a muster to put a troll there as well. Yeah, I place a troll there as well. And he uses a token to stall out so that I don't... so if I get Saruman with this my last muster, then he can also get Gandalf the White since he killed Gandalf. So that's smart. That's making me pay one way or the other. Okay, so I choose to muster down the Southrons and Elites. And I think... Yeah, he moves the Fellowship again. And he gets hit. He gets a 2. Takes a random, gets Gimli. That's very nice. Also, there's Shelob again. If you saw the first 2 games, we had Shelob get drawn in Mordor and roll a 6 both times. So, when I picked it up, I started playing the Jaws music in my head, hoping that it does that well again this time. Okay, Faramir's Rangers, I will go alone. Yeah, very happy to pick up Faramir in this situation anyway. Okay, so he moves 1 away, and then I roll that. So I'm not crazy about that. Yeah, and he rolls that. So at least he's not moving a ton, but it still doesn't feel great anyway. Also, at least I can get, Saruman or maybe the Witch King, and he can't get Gandalf this turn, so that's something. Because he didn't roll a Will of the West. But I'm still not getting a lot done militarily this turn. So he plays Faramir first. I think that makes sense. Just in case this army did attack Osgiliath. And I play many kings. Yep, I think that makes sense. He moves. He gets hit. There's a 1, takes it as damage. And now I get Saruman because, I suppose he technically could. He could use a ring to change this into a character die, and then if he had Mirror of Galadriel, he could make it a Will of the West, and then get Gandalf. But I don't know. Then he's at least spending a ring and 2 dice on it, so I don't know. And I guess I wanted to see what he did before using mine here, so I don't know. Okay, and I think that... Right. This is extra why I wanted to see what he did first, because if he did... if he used that H on not this Rohan army or that Minas Tirith army, then I was going to either go get Minas Tirith, or I was going to move to East Emnet and threaten Helm's Deep next turn. So if he rolled, not an H again, or just a Will of the West, then he'd have to choose between Gandalf and blocking that. Or Old Forest Road is open now. So now I go for Old Forest Road, because he'd have to spend a ring to block it now. Cool. So he plays I Will Go Alone to heal up that last one and get a Hobbit out there. That's always fun, especially when you have cards like Brave Stand. Now you can actually use them if I come your way. So yeah, I'm very happy to get into Old Forest Road without this bolstered army getting in the way. Yeah. He says it's a mistake. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's hard just when there are a lot of different places where it would be good to use it. Then it's hard. I think he's right in saying that he should have used the Palantir first. That way he could have seen where I was going and that moved in the way. Here are the ships. That's always nice. We prove the Swifter. Good stuff. I get half orcs and a red tile. And I chuck dreadful spells. I think that's okay. That's another downside to the way I'm trying it this way, is I don't get to bring this Isengard unit along, so Devilry of Orthanc is not as easily usable this way. Also, Shadows on the Misty Mountains or Rage of the Dunlendings aren't going to matter because this army is already a full 10 strength army. Back. Right. So I check dreadful spells. He debates for a little bit. I recommend declaring in Lorien. Yeah. Okay, so I roll another crap ton of eyes, which at least this time I roll it into 3 movements, so that's better anyway. Obviously, I'd still rather have attacks than eyes, but yeah. So he moves and gets hit twice and draws a 3. Thinks for a bit, takes a random, and it's a hobbit, so at least Pippin declared in Lorien anyway. Right, so what do I do here? Right, I moved to East Emnet because, I don't know, I guess I still want to kind of spook him about West Emnet, so I'm putting the pressure on anyway. I might still just go to Lorien. Right, and he moves that army there to Fords of Eisen, which I think makes sense because you don't really want to move again. Like, the health of the Fellowship is not amazing anymore. Like, you're down to 3 companions and you're at 2 corruption and you still have 3 steps to go. Like I said, like, it's not terrible, but it's not great. So you don't want to move again. Like 4 dice at 5s or 4 dice at 4s even, you know. So that way you can use these 2 character dice to neatly get everyone to Helm's Deep. Oh yeah, so I tell him I actually win the game right here because I play Shelob, which naturally is going to come up and roll 6. So he plays Power of Tom Bombadil. That's interesting. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, he can't really play any of these other cards, right? I guess you could have actually, with Mary and the Rohan army here, he could have played the Eagles Are Coming, because that would have made these Nazgul go away, and then I couldn't attack with that character die anymore. But also saving it as a heroic death is pretty good, too. He thinks about it. Okay, he does stick with Tom Bombadil. So I attack Osgiliath here just because he mustered Gondor down 1 step, so this gets Gondor all the way to war, and then I can at least get to the Witch King this turn, so that's something to get done anyway. And luckily I roll 2 6s, so I wipe out that army anyway. And he moves again, and he gets hit, and it's another 3. And this time he draws Boromir. And yeah, there's the Witch King. So the downside to now having moved West Emnet to Fords of Eisen is a little bit riskier now that he didn't use that second character to move back to Helm's Deep, because now if he doesn't have a convenient die to move that army back with, this might, leave Helm's Deep open. But at the same time, like, he needs like an H, a W, or a C does that. So each of his die has 2 out of 3 odds of letting him do that. But I guess it's just a question of if you needed that die for something else, then that's unfortunate. Okay, so he gets Ents and Help Unlooked For, and I get New Powers Rising and Breaking. He accidentally shows Help Unlooked For. Probably an intimidation move, just to throw me off. So I throw out Fighting Uruk-hai. Interesting. Right. Normally I would be more okay with throwing out the Breaking here, but because the Fellowship is down to just these 2 companions here, like, all I would need to draw is a 2 or a 3, and then I make him lose Strider. So that seems powerful. That backup card seems good to me. Deadly Strife is great. Red Tile's good. Cruel Weather is crucial, obviously, and New Powers Rising also. Like if things go south with Rohan, having that reinforcements is nice. So, anyway, tough calls. Okay, so he runs away from the Witch King. It makes sense to me. And I roll another crazy amount of eyes. So the plus side, anyway, is that he's continued to not roll Will of the Wests anyway. So that makes me feel better about not letting him get Gandalf way back when. Because that's the thing. Like if you have to pick between delaying both or letting them both happen right now, sometimes Gandalf just shows up next turn anyway, and you end up like waiting a couple turns while they use their tokens before you can get Saruman or the Witch King, and sometimes that feels bad. But this time I got to stall Gandalf for I think this is like the third turn of since that happened. So yeah. Oh, I'm kind of okay with this because at least like the Fellowship is in pretty poor health. They're at like net -2 corruption. So like he could get into Mordor, but he's probably going to get hurt pretty bad for it. But in the end, he moves and I don't hit him, so that feels bad. Like it wasn't super likely that I'd hit him, but over 50%. I think four dice is a bit over 50%. So I play Cruel Weather here because if he moved again, then he would most likely get hit and then, almost definitely get revealed, and then I couldn't get a chance to play Cruel Weather at all. So yeah, I Cruel Weather him back. Now he might be able to, like, he could make it to Mordor. He could move again, probably get hit and revealed, then use Strider to hide, and then use a ring to move again. But he'd be paying a lot in terms of corruption for that. And obviously, I'm not getting a lot done militarily, so I don't think he's going to move again. He thinks for a bit. Yeah, he musters the north down to war, which I think is reasonable. Because that forces this army to do something about the north. Whereas this army would be very happy to just ignore the north, conquer Woodland Realm, and then just sit there until the end of time. Or maybe step on Dale, maybe go get airport. But okay. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I'm committed to I want to hurry up and resolve Dew now that he's mustering the north down. So I guess that's why I choose to get Lorien and Woodland Realm at the same time. Because if I might be able to go get a cheap Helm's Deep here, but if I do though, then if this army takes out Woodland Realm, then Lorien's at war and it can muster up. So I guess I'm taking Lorien first here. He draws a card here. Interesting. Not entirely sure why he does that. I guess Cruel Weather's gone, so you're not needing to save it for that anymore. I don't know. I might have waited until I had more room so you didn't have to throw out cards. And I almost take my turn, but he's good enough, a honorable player, and reminds me that he needs to discard before I take my turn. All right, so I attack Lorien. Yeah, makes sense to me anyway. He plays Axe and Bow, and I attack Woodland Realm. So now the elves are at war, so that's very nice for him with his Cure-Dense ships. I don't even remember, what does he do here? Oh, right, he moves that army there. Okay. And he gets Mithril's Coat and another Scouts. So that's nice. And I get Orc Patrol and Corsairs. So he chucks Book, and I chuck Half-Orcs and Goblin Men. Yeah, again, maybe I should have chucked Orc Patrol. I don't know. And I get a bunch of musters and not so many eyes this turn. So he moves, and I hit him, and I reveal him. So that's nice for me anyway. I'm quite happy to see that. So I play Breaking here because if I get lucky and I get both of them out, then he doesn't have the Strider ability anymore. And then he can hide with this one and use a ring to get into Mordor, but at least I'm making him use a ring this way. And I get lucky and I draw a 2. So I think there was 2 2s into 3, 3 1s, and 3 that would have been bad to draw. So 1 and 3 that I'm accomplishing nothing, although getting the 0 out of the bag would be good. And the 3 1s would still do 3 damage because he'd either lose Strider or he'd lose Legolas and then lose Axe and Bow. And then with the 2 or 3, it's costing him 6 corruption essentially because Strider's gone, who's worth 3, Legolas is gone, who's worth 2, and Axe and Bow is gone, which is worth 1. So it's just brutal stuff. Yeah. So he this doesn't come up a lot, so I don't blame him for forgetting anyway. But the card specifically says that they have to sit in the region with the Fellowship. He doesn't get to move them. So so that's a bummer. So he hides the Fellowship. Yeah, it would be nice if I had what do I do here? Oh, I do try it. Yeah, okay, Orc Patrol, because if I draw one of these 3 that reveal him, then he can't get into Mordor this turn. Oh no, wait, but he has Gollum now. That wouldn't work anyway. What am I doing? Oh well, I draw an eye. I guess I'm just thinking that I'm hoping for a corruption win at this point, and there was only 2 eyes in there, so any of these other ones is useful corruption. anyway, or at least getting a 0 out of the way. So, 1 second. Oh, never mind. We're good. We'll keep going. Okay. So yeah, he goes ahead and uses the ring just in case I have another attempt to try to reveal him, I guess. And I miss, which feels bad because like the best case scenario there would have been, of course, drawing an eye, so that would actually reveal him and draw another tile. But oh well, the game does what it does. He thinks, and I think. Okay, so I end up playing New Powers Rising because I guess I have these musters. I don't really know what else to do with them, and clearly I'm going to want to play that card at some point. You know, helps me threaten Rohan, or maybe these orcs will go get Rivendell or the Shire. I think about using a ring to play Corsairs here, but I hold off for a very specific reason that I'll share later. So I muster another elite into Isengard, and then I attack Lorien. I'm probably using Return to Valinor here. Oh yeah, and he uses Weeper of the Swifter. That was so good. I forgot that that Daring Defiance was a thing, just because usually this gets used to throw Gandalf under a bus late game. But yeah, Daring Defiance. So he forfeits Pippin's leadership to cancel an entire Deadly Strife. That was brutal. Debatably a mistake on my part to play that there anyway. But at the same time, what else was I going to do? Just not play a card? Like, I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so I roll no hits. Would have been 3 if Deadly Strife had been there. So that's a fantastic card play on his part. And he gets 2 hits back. So that doesn't feel amazing for me. I don't press. He thinks about it for a bit. Right, and he ends up using it as a movement to make Dale problematic for me and get Erebor reinforced, which is reasonable. You know, like this army's coming, so getting that dwarf into the stronghold feels good. So now this is what I debated playing earlier. I play Corsairs now, so that at the start of next turn, if he does have Círdan or Imrahil, he'll be a little bit stuck on what to do. Because if he has a Will of the West for Gandalf, then he's going to risk me being able to play Day Without Dawn and taking that away from him. You know, or if he does get Gandalf first, then I can try to crack this stronghold open. As it turns out, he does have Círdan's ships, so that's that's the crux of it. Okay, so I draw Flocks and Threats, 2 of probably the worst cards in the game. But, not terrible combat cards anyway. But yeah. So he gets File of Galadriel and King Brand, and he chucks the Grey Company. I think that makes sense. And yet, Strider's out there, so maybe he could have moved to Minas Tirith and played that, but these are all good cards too, so that's reasonable. Fellowship's off to Mordor, of course. Shelob's coming for them. I get this roll, which is just beautiful. That is exactly the roll I want. And he gets, a decent roll, a pretty average roll. So he has exactly the tough choice that I talked about. He can play Círdan's ships and risk Day Without Dawn, or he can get Gandalf and risk me cracking Dol Amroth. So that's a question of which one do you risk. I've made it 9 cards through the strategy deck, so I think if you're playing the odds and trying to get both, it might make more sense to gamble that I don't have Day Without Dawn. But at the same time, not like losing that Will of the West would not only mean you don't get Gandalf this turn, but then you're only moving once, and you're still on 4 dice next turn to get through Mordor. And even if you play Círdan's ships first, I might beat that stronghold this turn anyway. Like if I bring some leadership over and have a couple good cards, that's entirely defeatable. So, so he thought about it for a while, but he chooses to get Gandalf in. And that's an entirely defensible decision anyway. So I go for Dol Amroth, and this is the only card I can play here, Relentless Assault. And I don't open with it because I'm, worried that he has like a Daylight or something he's going to throw at me. And I'd rather wait and hope that he plays his cards first and then play Relentless Assault later. So I roll 1-6, which is about average, and he rolls 2 hits back. I press, and I think, now I'm playing a card because now I'm hoping that he's just not playing any. And he wisely chose to save a card. Right, and he's playing Shield Wall now because he really wants this army to hold out to be able to play Círdan's ships, so I think that makes sense. It's a bit of a bummer. Like, this army's strong, so not getting to play King Brand to make it even tougher feels bad, but I think that's entirely reasonable anyway. So I take 2 hits, of course, because I want to just wipe him off the face of the earth. I only get 1 hit, so that feels bad. 50-50, should have gotten either 2 or 3 anyway, likely, in all likelihood. But so Shield Ball would have meant 2, would have only got 1 hit done anyway. And he gets 2 hits back, so that feels bad. Yeah. So I debate here for a bit about whether I should stop and bring leadership or whether I should press and finish off, because like maybe he doesn't have Círdan or Imrahil yet, you know. I think about it for a bit. I decide, like, you know, I still have 4 dice in there that could roll a 6, so like odds are slightly in my favor that I will finish it off. So I press and I roll my 6, so that feels good. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so I finished off Dol Amroth by getting lucky and rolling 6s, the way all Great Shadow players do. But yeah, my goodness, did that army take a beating for just 3 regulars? Like, if I'd paused there and he'd played Círdans, that would have been devastating. Yeah, that army probably would have just been cooked. So I'm, in hindsight, knowing that he had Círdan there, I'm very glad that that I did get to finish it off. Okay, so he plays Mithril Coat. I think that makes sense. There's an argument for playing Mithril first. I think both are defensible anyway. So I bring in the Mouth, of course. That always feels good. I like having him there to threaten Lorien too, just in case he does get cheeky and put Gandalf in there. Yeah. So then he moves the Fellowship quick before I can put any more red tiles or what have you in there. And of course there's Shelob! You know, we all knew it was coming because it's, you know, that's just how this series has been. But very sadly, he has Mithril Coat in hand, and he's allowed to tell Shelob to go back and try again some other time. Yeah, I thought it was really funny that it came up again. Yeah. Anyway. So he gets a 2 and debates for a bit about whether to reveal. Yeah. Yeah, a tough choice, because the Fellowship is in dangerous health, but it also needs to go fast. And yeah, I like my score doesn't look great because I only have those 2 points for Dol Amroth, but like Woodland Realm and Lorien are both weak and have strong armies against them. So there's decent odds that I could finish both of those this turn, and then it's 6 points. And then, you know, Erebor, Dale, Helm's Deep, Edoras, maybe even Minas Tirith. Like I'm closer to 10 points than it looks like on the scoreboard. You know, this game can be deceptive about that kind of thing. Oh, right. Yeah. I remember I was specifically waiting for him to use that. I was hoping he'd move first. So now this army's going to run and it's going to go get Helm's Deep. Because now he's going to have to use his last ring with this die to come back and defend it if he chooses to defend it. Okay, so I carry on my my merry way of going to attack Rohan. Yeah, so I get Edoras wrapped up. That feels good. So he does choose to use the ring and come back and defend it, which I think makes sense because, you know, like I said, like both of these are quite crackable. So if Helm's Deep was given to me for free, then I'm at 9 points if I get all 3 of those. So he thinks about it, brings that guy to Edinburgh's. It's, you know, a reasonable decision. I attack Helm's Deep. Right, because Rohan's at war now, so I don't want to let them muster up for free next turn. Right, and I attack Lorien here. I'm hoping, you know, it would have been nicer to have something like Onslaught or Deadly Strife so that I could burn through more of these hit points and then bring in lots of fresh reinforcements. But here we go. Okay, so I get 0 hits. So I very strategically dodge his heroic death. And he gets 3 hits back. So wish granted, I guess, that I burnt through some hit points. Right, yeah, here's me pressing to continue with my plans. Oh, right, I picked up Words of Power here, and there's Pippin there, so I can actually use it. Yeah, canceling 1 whole leadership. But I get lucky and roll 3 6s. So I guess that kind of makes up for the last 3 rounds of combat I had here. Also, I think I might not have pressed here if he had any dice to attack back with. Like say this round had gone poorly and I was down to like 2 or 3 hit points, he could sortie, and if he had something like a sudden strike, he might be able to kill the Witch King. But because I know he can't, what do you call it? Like I know he doesn't have a die, so he can't sortie. So I'll have time no matter, like, as long as this army doesn't die, backup will be able to walk in and help. So he gets 2 hits back. Yeah, and then that army immediately went down to 3 regular, so I get to walk in all my backup. Okay, on we go to turn 8. And I got another fantastic rolls. Like I had a few rough rolls earlier, but like the turn 7 and turn 8 rolls, just beautiful stuff here. Like that's everything you could possibly want. Like maybe you'd rather not have that other eye roll, but you're definitely complaining about the picky stuff here. So this is an interesting, like I said, I'm only actually at 3 points right now, but it's definitely possible that I could win this turn. All I need to do is crack Lorien, crack Woodland Realm, like that's 1 die each. And then I'm up to 7 points. Probably 1, 2, 3, like to walk this army over, and then crack Helm's Deep. So that's 5 dice. That's got enough up to 9 points, and then just 1 to get Dale. So definitely possible that I could win this turn. Yeah, so as the Free People's player, you always got to keep an eye on how can I keep myself in the game this turn, and obviously you still want to, keep moving on the Mordor track. So he passes, which I think is reasonable. I attack Lorien, just in case he had Celeborn or Power Too Great and decide not to play it. But obviously the Witch King's here too, so I want to get this over with. So I play Devil Reave Think and roll 3 5s. Like a very skilled Shadow player. Yeah, so it feels good getting to finish that off. Right, so then I use Black Captain commands here. It's always nice to get to pivot and attack, just in case he was holding on to Thranduil and not playing it. Just in case I, move leadership and then he could play it and make me feel like I invested in a bad spot. But this way I can hopefully blow it up before he gets a chance to reinforce it. But he doesn't even, have any... He doesn't have Thranduil anyway. So I play no card. I get 2 6s, so slightly lucky. He gets no hits back. I press, no card. I get my 1/6, and he gets no hits back. So, yeah, feels good. Like I said, like it's just 1 die to crack that one, 1 die to crack that one. Like it was at 3 points, now it's at 7. Like it was a lot closer than I looked. Right, so I'm bringing in these guys to help deal with Dale and Erebor here. Naturally, you want to get Erebor under siege before you attack Dale, so that all that leadership and maybe an elite can't retreat into Erebor. Yeah, he plays Ents here. Yep, that's reasonable. Get Saruman off the board because that takes away all my leadership. I can't play Fighting Uruk-hai, which I threw out already, but he doesn't know that. And if the game goes to another turn, as he clearly hopes it will, then I'm down 1 die. So, and he wanted to play File of Galadriel anyway, so makes sense. So I had, thought that this might happen. So I was specifically pausing here at the Fords of Isen so that the mouth could run from Lorien to join that army there. Also, that way, if Gandalf joins the siege here, then I have leadership to deal with him. So, right, and this army starts coming out to mess with Rohan because he realizes that he needs to do something. Or I might win this turn, because all I need to do is crack Helm's Deep and take Dale. And there's no way Dale's holding against this army. So he's coming to attack Edoras, and that way he can hold on for another turn. So I do no card at Helm's Deep. Right, I'm just hoping to, I like the situation in Lorien, use up some hit points before I bring in more reinforcement to try to be efficient. And he rolls 3 hits back, so... Yeah, mission accomplished. Once again, I have successfully weakened my army. He plays Círdan's ships here, which I find a bit puzzling. I guess he wanted to keep it safe from like either of these armies. Yeah, okay, that's reasonable. Right, so I get cute here, and I use this Shadow Lengthens card to split my army to here and here, because I'm hoping to win this turn. So I'm hoping that this army beats this army, which it should. It's even on hit points, but I have the defensive advantage of being in Edoras, and I have 5 combat dice to his 4. So, yeah, anyway, that's the hope. And I'm hoping that this army is strong enough to take out Helm's Deep. Yeah, so he carries on with plan March 4th and reclaim Edoras because, what else is he going to do? He claims Angmar because YOLO. Oh, right, the North wasn't at war. No, he does not. There's no YOLOing here. Moves to Trollshaws because, really, what else are you going to do? So I attack Helm's Deep first, and I'm not sure if this was a mistake or not. You see, if I had... Okay, well, I'll explain more after you see how this fight goes. So I use a card. He does not use a card. Yeah, makes sense. Devil Revorthank, I get 1 hit. He gets 2 hits back. I press. I draw Desperate Battle. This is a perfectly fine card to use. He has no card again. I get 2 hits, and he gets 4. So suddenly the siege doesn't work anymore because my army is just not strong enough to finish it off. I could have taken 2 regulars and left an elite, then downgraded, but then I'd be at 4 regulars against 2. I don't know. That doesn't seem worth the risk to me, because if that goes poorly again, yeah, I don't know. So now he knows he doesn't have to risk it for this fight in Edoras, and he can just hide the Fellowship. Whereas if I'd attacked Dale first, yes, that would be allowing those armies to escape to Erebor, but then he doesn't know if I'm going to win the siege at Helm's Deep or not. And then he has to attack here. And then he'd be spending that whole turn having not moved or hidden the Fellowship, so then he'd be taking 1 corruption for free. So yeah, there's... On the other hand, if I do want to go for Erebor, then not attacking there first definitely makes sense too. So I don't know. Yeah. So I remember I was feeling pretty pessimistic about dealing with this army and taking Helm's Deep. So I put Erebor under siege because I have so many troops here that I'm thinking maybe I can just give up on Rohan and go get these 3 as my last 3 points. Yeah. Anyway, so the game is helpfully reminding me that Saruman is dead and I need to take away a die. Oh, interesting. He had Pass of the Woses. Okay, cool. Okay, because I definitely... Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so here's turn 9. Oh, yeah, that was a bummer. I ran out of time, so we had to finish. This was like 2 days later that we actually finished the game. That we finally found another time to finish it off, because we're close to the end here, right? But yeah, here we go. Okay, so what does he do first? Oh, yeah. He plays Spirit of Mordor on the Helm's Deep army, which is terrifying stuff, because that's a very fragile army there. He gets 1 hit, which is about what you'd expect. So, yeah, scary stuff for me anyway. 1 second. The world gets noisy here sometimes. Okay, so I decide that I should bring this army as backup. So I picked up Grond and Horde from the east, which would normally be a really great combo for finishing off a stronghold, but there's a Hobbit there, so he would get to play a card too. So I don't know, maybe he has Ents or Daylight, or Sudden Strike, which would all make it a lot less likely to succeed. So I decided to bring backup, and I'm bringing the backup from Lorien too to help me kind of smooth off the rest of Rohan here. So he musters an elite and fold. Yeah, finish bringing in my backup. I leave a regular just to make their life a little more difficult. I don't know, maybe I should have brought it with me. He attacks West Emnet, which is reasonable. He kills him and doesn't get it. I don't get a hit back. He debates leaving regular here. I think he's correct not to. So the plan for him anyway is like, this army isn't that strong, so even if this army loses fighting it, this army will be so weak that I can't take Helm's Deep this turn. But he didn't know that I picked up Grond this time, right? So Grond should, finish this off. It really should. And I open with Deadly Strife, of course, and he plays, Sudden Strike. So I'm very glad I brought reinforcements, because if I'd tried this with 4 regulars and he got 2 hits, that might just be the end of it. He got 0 hits, as it turns out. and I rolled 2 6s anyway, so I didn't even need Deadly Strife. So he gets. It was going to be 1, but I'd point out that with Deadly Strife, it's 2 hits back to me. Yeah, so now I'm very comfortably fortified in Helm's Deep. No way that this army's going to take it back. So now he attacks Edoras because, obviously I can take Dale. So he has to do something here. He gets 0 hits. I get 0. He presses, of course. I stay. I get 1 hit back anyway, at least on this one. So, and here I think this is a mistake on his part, but I don't know, probably not a. Like, he probably would have lost anyway. I think he should have left a regular here because I had all these regulars on East Emnet and all of my leadership in Helm's Deep. So because he left it open, I got to unite most of my army with the leadership for doing this battle. Whereas if he left a regular there, it would have taken me 2 dice to do that uniting, and then my 3rd dice to attack Edoras, so then I wouldn't have a die left to take Dale. And then I think he would have survived another turn. Not that I'm spoiling anything. So he picks up a card, Power 2 Great. Yeah, not quite useful anymore, but still a decent combat card. Okay, so I attack. I'm, Relentless Assault. For a situation like this, let's see, he has 7 hit points and I have 11. So I could take 2 hits and it might pay off, but it might not, and I don't really need to risk accelerating it because I have more leadership and more hit points. Like, the longer this battle drags out, the better it will be for me, probably. So I choose not to take any hits here. I'm just playing it to cycle cards because I might draw, something like Swarm of Bats, or Dread and Despair. Well, not Dread and Despair, it's a strategy card, but anyway. So I take no hits and I roll 3 6s, which is just super lucky to roll on my first turn attacking a city. And he rolls 3 hits back. Right, and he played no quarter, so very bloody stuff, which I'm happy about a shadow. So I pick up Great Host, which I debate playing here, but I decide I'd rather play if I need it after I've whittled down a couple more regulars anyway. He plays Heroic Death, which makes sense. I roll 4 more hits, which is lucky, although not absurdly lucky, I guess, and he rolls 2 hits back. So yeah, now I'm quite confident that I don't need to use Great Host, so I figure I might as well save it for Dale just in case something stupid happens. So I get my 1 hit. He says GG, and I point out, we could do the fight in Dale just in case you get those 0 point whatever % odds of winning. Yeah. So I open with Great Host because I have 10. Even if he gets 3 hits, I still have 8 units, so guaranteed 1 hit anyway. And he plays Guards of the Citadel. Right, the reason that he had Path of the Woses and Guards of the Citadel, so that's pretty crazy. So if why I mentioned that it was interesting that he had Path of the Woses was because when this army moved here, a thought that occurred to me is that this army in Edoras could just go get Minas Tirith because it's quite weak. But if I'd moved, 1 there, then he could just Path of the Woses and then he's back to defend Minas Tirith. So that would have been really funny. Really glad that didn't happen, of course. But so the charge doesn't land any hits. I don't land any hits. He lands 2 hits. So I get my +1 from the Great Host. I'm actually a little bit nervous at that point, actually. I should still win, but you never know. I get 1 hit, and he gets 2. I press. I get my 1 hit. He gets 0, and I get my 3 hits to finish off the last guy. And that's it. So, yeah. That's that. Yeah. Yeah, I think he played pretty well. Minor mistake at Old Forest and West Emnet, but you could definitely say I made a couple mistakes too. No, on the whole, I think he played well. I think just luck favored me. Like we said, he didn't get Gandalf the White until turn 7. That just sucks. It's really hard to win on only 4 dice. And I think I had. Oh yeah, and he points out how frustrating it was. He had Círdan and didn't get to play it on DA. So I think that's more credit to myself for seeing that bind and going for it than faulting him. That's also just bad luck that he didn't already have Gandalf. Anyway, Um, let's take a look at statistics. That's always fun. So -0 on sixes for me, +3 on eyes, -4 on plungers. That more or less balances out. Yeah, so pretty average stuff for me. +9 on sixes for him though, and -5 on fives. So he should save that luck for playing a shadow. That's a lot better that way. -1 on wills, +3 on characters. So yeah, fairly average stuff. I'd still certainly say that luck favored me overall, like especially drawing a 2 on that breaking to get Strider out of there. That hurts, yeah. So yeah, that is that. It's sad that Shelob didn't get to roll a 6. That would have been fun to complete that trio, but Shelob tried her best though. The Fellowship only took one step, and she did show up for it. It's not her fault that Mithril Instinct showed up, so please don't blame Shelob. Okay, she did her best. But yeah, that's all. Toodles.